Hello and welcome to Happy Hips Hip Mobility. My name is Adriana Lee with Neorafit, and today I'll be taking you through a quick 10-minute hip mobility series that will help you to mobilize your hips, stretch, and strengthen. For today's practice, you will probably want something to pad your knees with, something like a blanket or a towel, and you'll definitely need at least one block or something about block size that's pretty sturdy, like some hardcover books or a sturdy box. If you have two blocks, amazing. You may or may not need them. So once you've got your props together, put on some music to keep you motivated, and we'll get started right away. We'll begin today's practice standing up on top of your block. So feel free to stand somewhere near a wall to assist you with balance. Set up the block so that the majority of your foot is on it, and then we'll stand first on your right leg. We'll begin with hip hikes. For these, the action is literally your hip moving up and down, or you can think of the thigh bone moving up into the hip joint and then down. You can use your foot against the block for a little bit of help with balance. So when you're ready, we'll go for 10. So lift the hip bone as high as you can and then lower. A couple of things to watch for. You want to make sure that it's not your shoulders doing the action or your knee doing the action. It is actually just the thigh bone lifting up into the hip joint. You'll feel your obliques engage and then come back down. All right. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Good. Let's do 5 more. Last 4. It can help to have your hands on your hips so you really do feel the action working. Last 2. And last 1. Perfect. Go ahead and switch sides. So block goes underneath your left foot. Find your balance. Your right foot can come onto the block for a little bit of support at first, and then drop the right leg down as low as it can and lift. Drop and lift. Good. 4, 5. Make sure that your chin is not coming forward or down too much, but you're keeping everything pretty neutral, nice long spine. Good. Last 4, 3, 2, and last 1. Perfect. This is a great move to add into your everyday workouts or your everyday practice just to help to mobilize the hips, and it does strengthen a lot of the balance muscles. So we'll set up now in a lunge with your knee padded, if your knees are sensitive especially, and possibly with blocks for a little bit of help. We'll start with the right leg forward in a lunge, left knee on the blanket, and I like to make sure that the knee all the way to ankle has some padding. So first, finding a lunge, you may choose to walk your foot forward a bit, allow your hips to sink down. Inhale to lift your chest. Exhale, let your hips come forward. Now take one more inhale here. And then as you exhale, send your hips back and straighten or partially straighten your right leg. We'll do that a few more times. Inhale, hips come forward, hips drop, lift your chest. Exhale, hips back, push down into your heels so you feel the back of your leg engage. 3 more. Last 2. And last 1. Perfect. Hold this half split shape for just 1 additional breath. Inhale, find some length in your spine. And exhale, maybe if your body feels ready to fold, start to fold. Then rise back up, re-bend your knee. You can move your blocks to the side for a moment and walk your right foot out to the right and point your toes to the right. This is getting into a psoas lunge, so the deep hip flexor muscle that attaches at the inner thigh and all the way back into your lower back. Place one hand on belly, one hand on sacrum, the bony plate at the base of your spine, and send your tailbone down, lift your belly up. Now as you inhale, allow your hips to come forward, and as you exhale, push into your right foot to come back up. Inhale, hips forward, and exhale, hips back. Press down into the top of your back foot just to help engage things a little bit more and take some of the pressure out of your knee. Good. After this last one, allow your hips to come forward. Place the back of your right hand onto your thigh. Reach your left arm up. Inhale, lift your ribs. And exhale, find a tiny side bend over to the right. If that's too intense, feel free to back out of it. And release. All right. This next lunge, you really may want the wall for help with balance, so feel free to move your mat if you need to. Walk your right foot in and directly aim it in front of your left knee. So it's like you're on a tightrope. So definitely may want some help with balance. Find a neutral pelvis so your hips are at the same height, and then draw your belly in, tailbone down. Then let your hips come forward. So this lunge is targeting your TFL, which is pretty much where like the pocket of your jeans would be, or the tensor fascia lata. It's a hip muscle. Take an inhale to lift your ribs, and exhale, maybe your hips come 1 inch forward. And we won't stay here for too long, just one more breath. All right, go ahead and release out of that. Bring your right knee back to meet left, and then step your left foot forward and grab your blocks. Setting up for that first lunge. Walk your left foot as far forward as you need to for your body. Inhale, allow your hips to sink forward. Lift your ribs up. And exhale, maybe drop your hips down 1 more inch. And 1 more breath. And then we'll start to add on that activation. So as you exhale, send your hips back and straighten or partially straighten your left leg. And inhale, hips come forward, lift up your chest. Exhale, hips back, straighten your leg. Inhale, hips forward, and let your chest rise. 2 more here. Push down through your heels so you feel the back of your leg engage. And last one. Exhale and hold here. Inhale, find some more length through your spine. And exhale, if your body feels ready to fold, maybe fold 1 inch or so. Then re-bend your knee, move your blocks out of the way. And next we'll find that psoas lunge. So walk your left foot out to the left and point your toes to the left. Place 1 hand on belly, 1 hand on sacrum. Lift your belly up, send your tailbone down. And then as you inhale, hips come forward. And exhale, push your hips back. Inhale, hips forward, and exhale, hips back. Again, the psoas, you should feel this basically along the front of your hip, maybe all the way down into your thigh, the top of your thigh. Good, 2 more here. This muscle can get really tight when we sit for long periods of time or when we do a lot of crunches. Last one. Good, and then come back into the shape and hold. Place the back of your left hand onto your thigh. Maybe let your hips drop another centimeter if you need. Reach your right arm up. Inhale, lift your ribs. And exhale, if you still need more, take a tiny side bend over to the left. Just 1 breath. All right, and let that go. Now moving back into that TFL lunge. So walk your left foot directly in front of the right. So it's like you're on a tightrope. Level out your hips so the 2 hip bones are at the same height. Then 1 hand on belly, 1 hand on sacrum. Feel free to use a wall for balance. Draw your belly in, tailbone down, and then hinge your hips forward or drop your hips forward. And this should feel pretty targeted, like it's right in your jeans pocket if you were wearing jeans. Not holding here forever. I know it's still a little bit tough on balance. 1 last breath. And release. Walk your foot back out. And then we'll come into a seat. You can sit on top of your blanket, especially if your hips are pretty tight. Place the soles of your feet together and knees wide. Then set your left hand down on your left thigh. Get the heel of your hand as close to the hip bone as you can and point your fingers towards your knee. Then set your right hand down beside you. Push into your left palm and feel for tractioning, like moving the thigh bone out of the hip joint. You won't actually move it out of the hip joint, but straighten, let your shoulder come up to your ear, and then find a tiny side bend, allowing some weight to come into your right hand. Take a deep breath into your belly. And as you exhale, lift your belly muscles away from your thigh. So just helping to create a little more traction. 1 more inhale. And then as you exhale, drop your left shoulder down. Find a little bit of a twist, like you're twisting your chest towards your thigh. That's going to change up the traction in your left hip. Inhale into your belly. And exhale, lift your belly muscles away from your thigh. Good. Release that. Lower both of your hands down to frame your right knee. Continue to twist your chest towards your knee. Make sure that both hips stay on the ground. If you find one hip is lifting, back out of the pose a little bit. Inhale. Maybe find a little more length through your spine. And exhale. If your body feels ready for it, maybe you fold 1 inch closer to your knee. And then rise all the way back up and switch sides. Set your right hand onto your right thigh, heel of the hand as close to the hip bone as you can get it. Fingers point towards your knee. And then set your left hand down beside you. Push into the heel of your right hand to straighten out or almost straighten out your right arm and let your shoulder slide up to your ear. And then allow for a little bit of a side bend. If you need to adjust your hand, go ahead and adjust. Breathe into your belly. And exhale, lift your belly muscles away from your thigh. One more breath. And after this exhale, dip your right shoulder down, twisting your chest towards your left knee. Continue to press through the right heel of hand, not pushing like for dear life, but just applying a little bit of pressure so you get that traction. Inhale into your core. And exhale, lift your belly muscles away from your thigh in the direction of your left shoulder. And release. Both hands come down to frame your left knee. You can be on fingertips, you can be on blocks, or hands all the way on the ground. Keep twisting your chest towards your knee while maintaining your hips on the ground. Inhale into the right side of your lower back. And exhale, maybe fold another centimeter. Inhale, create a little more length through your spine. Reach your rib cage forward. And exhale, maybe fold one more centimeter. And then make your way all the way back up to a seat. Take your hands outside of your knees. Close your knees back together. Keep your feet pretty wide. Place your hands behind you and then windshield wiper your knees side to side, letting them drop to the right and to the left. And we'll do that just a couple more times. And then once you feel complete, we'll just come into a comfortable cross-legged seat to seal your practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope that your hips feel good, and I hope that you found some tools that you can use in your own home practice anytime that your hips feel a little bit tight or a little bit stuck. My name again is Adriana Lee with Neorafit, and thank you again. Namaste.